Log recording 9:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, still the 21st of June 2023. Diary of the Griever named John Weaver, which would be me. Previous video right now was concerning about sending a message over to Miss Camberata over CNN and Mr. Mike Rowe because they were doing an article regarding college and trade, and I wanted to tell them my story. And at the same time, I was feeling the roller coaster and the triggers again. Anything regarding memories that I'm going through these days are getting me very, very harshly at this point over here. I'm feeling it again. I mean, it's bad enough I'm watching stuff online. Well, flat screen's been there for about 9, 10 months as just a place to hang stuff up, so I hadn't been using that damn thing in a hell of a long while. So I use another flat screen laptop for the television, and I use this one for recording because I find it's a lot easier that way sometimes. And right now, I'm dealing with a lot of emotions kicking my butt right now in regarding the blasted triggers. And I have been that way all morning. You know, I've added a couple of them to the trigger list. I mean, it's supposed to be family first, and then there was home, and then there's hearth. And something else added out there that really me started going through the memories and starting to feel the build up going on. I'm going to be building up to the point where I'm going to be crying my eyeballs out and going through the emotional roller coaster. And then afterwards, I have to put myself in bed just to relax for a few minutes or to an hour or so. By the time I'm waking up, either I'm still going through the mess, or maybe I won't get triggered, and then something happens and I get triggered again. Yeah, I'm still going through the therapies. Next week is going to be the therapist time. Phone. It would have been better if I was going down there, but it's expensive to pay for bus fare these days from Rosamond to Lancaster. So phone's the cheapest way for me to do this thing. I prefer if it was on camera, so I can deal with the person entirely that way. But phone has to be. So I deal with the phone. The problem is I'm dealing with someone who's taking notes and repeating them like a parrot. So how is a person when this person is going through an emotional headlocker here? How are they supposed to feel when you have a nervous professional kind of parroting your stuff back? It's like working with the program Eliza a long time ago. You know, back in the 80s when they had the bulletin boards kicking out like crazy. And what some of the people actually came into the psychological program called Eliza. You pop in a few things here and there and they ask you a question and ask you another question. Does it relate to the thing? Does it not relate to the thing? I mean, they were pre-programmed. They were pre-programmed. The problem is with this kind of programming here, you can tell your life story like crazy, or you can insult the living daylights out of it, and it still pop up with another question, either the same one or another one altogether. But why did you say that? Why did you do that? Why did you say this? Why did you say that? Why? And it's like, "Argh!" But it was supposed to be something either of a game or a psychological tool or torture at the same time. During those days, I really didn't need a shrink, but it would have been nice to talk to some people about stuff. But I didn't realize what the hell was going on during those days. You know what scares the hell out of me? Chatbots. AI. I've heard the stories concerning about students using chatbot, whatever they're calling these days, the artificial intelligence. They write their own essays. I could send a copy of this one over to the two other people I was going to be sending the previous one over to. Because I still had something to say concerning about the emotionalism, the artificial intelligence can't figure out human emotions, neither can humans. We already have enough problems with it as it is. This is the reason why I keep doing my channel left and right. Because I needed to keep talking about the complexity of being a human being. A robot can only deal with the zeros and ones and maybe some fuzzy logic if they're working on it. But the thing is, they still can't figure out human beings because we're so off the damn board. It's not even funny. But they can write up an essay. An essay? 15, 1800, or at least a 2,000 or 3,000 word. No issue, no problem. As long as you got the facts. It'll come up with a thesis statement. It'll come up with the first paragraph. It'll come up with the body line. And then the descriptions of what was going on, and then the conclusion afterwards. Completed with all the bookmarks. All the punctuations. Everything you need for a damn essay. Print it up, spit it up, give it to the teacher, they'll never know it. This scares and upsets me a great deal. It's like playing Pong. Put it on autopilot. Or get the paddles in there, and you see it going back and forth, left and right. You get the settings right, you get the zeros and ones right, you can make yourself whatever you need to make yourself. Where's the fun in that? You know what essays are? They're dry toast stories, I call them. Facts and figures, but no imagination. The teachers I had over at the community college, they do have a semblance of wit. Maybe not many of them, but there are a few. Even some of the political professors at times, and the history professors over there will have a little bit of more interesting flair for when they're telling their history of what they know, their knowledge to the students. And to me, it's all stories. I have been literate for a long while. I hadn't been a Shakespearean laureate. That guy is too damn complicated. But sometimes I would get into the British poems and stories that they would have. The American stories kind of bored the living crap out of me, especially even when I read the poems of the 1800s. Clemens was a good storyteller. He had a hell of a lovely wit. Sometimes he'd bore the crap out of me. I would read Frost, I would read Woodward, I would read Coleridge. Sometimes I had to reread it just to make sure I had the visualizations in my head on it. I would read other story writers of science fiction and of fantasy and English literature. I'd fall in love with them. A chatbot can only be programmed with the zeros and ones in it. Doesn't have the imagination, doesn't have the soul it needs. You need to see the story. You need to understand the story. You need to see it in visualization in your head. When you're reading the words or when you're reading the situation, you got to feel it. You got to hear it. You got to be moved by it. The politics I'm seeing these days are a lot different back in the 20th century than they are in the 21st century. And history is history. Some people thought it was boring because it was the zeros and ones you always had to go through, the rote of things. Everything's documented, so you have to do the documented stuff. Describe it in this way, describe it in this way, reword it here, just to see that you understand it. And we had to do that through K through 12. In college, you had to reword it one way or another, but they never gave you the permission to go off the board. I had to find professors that had the quirk, and I'd go off the board. I'm a storyteller. I got to tell my story. You got history. Tear the word apart, history. H-I, toss it out. What's the rest of the word? Story. Creativity, imagination. Put yourself in the character situation and you're telling it your own words. I did that in an English, no, in a history class. About certain time periods. And I wish to God I had this damn thing published. It would have been beautiful. It's buried in my files somewhere. But this was beautiful because I had to put characters in the history to describing what they were going through. How to make history come to life. A chatbot can't do that. It'll just tell you the zeros and ones that it understands. But it won't do fuzzy logic. It won't do creativity. It won't go off the deep end. It won't go out of the box. I discovered that in community college, you go off the box. You get better grades because you're doing something that no one thought of. Imagination. Perspective. Context. Go off the deep end. If you're going to fail, fail big time. Especially when you're going to be writing essays. You're going to be writing something important like political science. Then you got to understand and try to figure things out politically, and they like a dry toast at times. Unless, of course, you had a professor that actually liked a little creativity, then maybe you'll get into it. But they got to make sure that you understand the dry toast of it all. Blech. But history and English, oh, they want it. They eat it. They slurp it up. Somebody actually understands what history is all about. Stories, life, lessons that we keep screwing up left and right on. I hear the news media don't even think on it. They're the zeros and ones. Doesn't matter which ones we're looking at. You got the both sides right here, and in between, it's the empty space. You got the left, you got the right, you got whatever the hell they are. These are the barriers. They're so zeroed and one out. It's not even funny, but they're making up their own stories to counteract each other. I tell the truth. I don't tell the truth. You're telling there's a conspiracy. No, there's a conspiracy. Yada, 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 yada. And the people behind are like, ah! We're the centrists. We can't deal with this kind of stuff. Where's the common ground? There is no common ground. You will listen to what we say. The hand puppets of the leftist and the rightist. You're both full of it. I've talked about this many times on my channel. Recently, I had to change to a different channel and restart up the Diary of the Great Renamed John Weaver, which is me. And I had to do that because the host was changing things around. But now since they got things squared away, I'm back in my own post again. Back what I call home. But getting back to the Diary of the Great Renamed John Weaver, all the personality of all the mental situations going through, the grieving, the mourning, the process, the depression, the anxiety, the flashbacks. It's no wonder I haven't lost my life yet. There have been so many times I couldn't stand the grieving and I couldn't stand the pain. I'd seen people smiling like crazy, and sometimes I kind of wished I had taken that final pathway. And the thing of it is, I keep seeing the faces of my family, not to mention the Father Creator himself, looking at me and trying to figure out what's going on with you. Or maybe he'd probably look at me with a lot of sadness in here and say something. Something profound that would scare the living crap out of me. He understood. Of course, in those times, I suppose one of the natural responses would be going into a combat zone at this point over here because you got the fear, you got the anger, and you go psycho on that one. Screaming and yelling like a damn hard kid and trying to figure it out, saying, Father, you made me imperfect. No, I made you the way I thought you were going to be. But you screwed up. No. But you're blaming everything on me. No. Tried to guide you what was going on. And sometimes you listened and other times you didn't. And I was hoping maybe we'd find the common ground necessary to get you back in operation again. Celebrated your achievements that you did. What achievement was that? Being human. Open. Empathetic. Kindness. Charity. Love. Knowledge. Human decency. Demonstrated qualities like that. I looked at myself at times and trying to think of that one. If I actually had a conversation with the boss man upstairs on that one. And sometimes I wonder if I actually did do those things. But without even realizing in the first place, not focusing on it. And if I actually helped people out, I didn't keep a track record on it. But I'm wonderful when it comes down for keeping track of my own damn personal issues, including my own little things. Cursing and cussing like a sailor. No, a salty sailor who is just open mouthed. Anything and everything coming out of the mouth. And that would show what people would say a lack of maturity. I've heard people with theoretical maturity that didn't sound like that in the first place, what we expect them to sound like. We expect them to sound like wizened people. They sound like blithering idiots. And I'm not talking about the current political idiots we got right now that we're running into these days. I'm talking about other people a long time ago. Some people are just struggling through life one way or another and dealing with their own quips and quibbles and personality and character defects or characterizations that they got going on. Maybe I should have taken Psychology 101, but man, that'd be more of a headache for me. I should have been taking philosophy in school, but I got screwed over in one class. You see, I thought Philosophy 101 at community college meant you're going through beginning philosophy. Instead, I failed to take into consideration what I was seeing in front of my face. I should have seen this one coming. Critical thinking in philosophy. I had this one professor who can turn a psychologist into a raving lunatic. He could put him into a straitjacket, just by listening to what he was talking about. And I was surprised that the rest of the people in the philosophy department tried to even understand this Victor professor. Tenured, and he still had a high rate of flunking in this class. Because hardly anybody understood this guy's head. And I was among the many casualties. I mean, that's one particular grade I like to make up. With a different professor, hopefully I can understand the logic. Because this particular meatball logic was shared by one or two other professors over there in the college I still got to deal with. But I want to get through the college, so I'm going to get through it. If I don't get through it one way, I'm going to get through it in another semester and another semester after that. But I'm going to get through something. I got to. I want to graduate, blasted. I want to see myself on the stage. I don't care if I get to the PhDs or the MAs, BA maybe. But the AA, I know, is the lowest rung in the academia. But for me, that was the thing I was struggling like crazy. Why is it important to me? Because I thought it was important to my mother, because she wanted me to go through college. She wanted me to get a degree and get a good job. That was the thinking back then. Not the adventure. I mean, you shove a bunch of stuff in a guy's head, and he's expected to do what with it? It's like trying to get a new computer drive, and you think you got expanded knowledge in there when he's only got finite, and you're shoving the entire Encyclopedia Galactica on him. Doesn't work that way. Especially for a guy like me in the first place. I mean, yeah, I like to study. I'd like to read on certain books when I got into the mood for it. Star Trek books, fantasy books, story books I like to. Ma got me interested in murder mystery. Ellis Peters, I fell in love with automatically. It was English history, it was English literature, and it was a murder mystery all wrapped up in one. And when I saw the PBS broadcasting coming from England on this one, I fell in love with it. It was over a dozen and a half books, but they only made so much television programs. But it was still, yeah, it made me appreciate history all that much. Even if it had to be English history, because it's still related with American history. I just didn't even bother to realize it. And it drove me crazy. You see, I see patterns sometimes. I got older and older. I'm seeing more and more patterns these days. What connects to what? What connects to what? What connects to what? It's a whole intricate web. Not conspiracies, but things relating to each other left and right. And what's worse? What's worse? Think about it on the two-dimensional level, that's one thing. Thinking about the third dimensional, that's another thing. But up beyond that, ooh. Opening the mind to that kind of level. A long time ago, I touched that level. Well, when you're dead, you touch it. Come back to life, and you get the crap out of it. I regretted everything about the whole experience. Open heart surgery, age 4 years old, said before in my other videos. Died 3 times, going up and back. God wanted me to live. But understanding death after that, well, it's really put me into a damn mental straitjacket. Sometimes I feel like I got a physical one on. But I'm surviving, I'm struggling. August is coming up. And then I get to go. I get to go. It's like a month and a half, more than a month and a half. Then after that, I get to go. Walk back on the campus again. Hold back the emotions. Focus what I need to take care of. But I tell you, I get back on the campus again. I hadn't been on it in a hell of a long while. but I'm still active in their database. I still have my active number. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. It's about a 1.5 mile walk over to the nearest bus stop, or 2 miles, depending. 2 mile would be the earliest bus. 1.5 mile, I'm going to have to fight for a seat during that time. Sometimes I have to do that for the other one as well. Okay. I'm going to cut this short in a few seconds here, but give you a little bit of bearing of Rosamond. So do me a favor. If you got Google Earth or just Google Maps, type in Rosamond, California. Rosamond, California. Take a look at the town. I live right next to Edwards Air Force Base, literally. Several hundred yards away, and there's the border of it. Now, locate shopping center. Locate the side street called Eagle Way and Rosamond Boulevard. Taco Bell would be your navigational point. There's bus stop number 1. About 2 miles away from here. Bus stop number 2 is at a place called Hummel Hall. Hummel Hall. It's a senior center. Somewhere on 20th. And I believe right by Center, I think, or Orange Street. That's the second bus stop. Those are the only 2 buses we've got out here running that does this line from Kern County all the way to LA County. Express buses. We get a dial-a ride service. It's like a taxi service we have to order up. Gives us a 2-hour window out of our destination and a return trip, all within our town. Kern Transit's run by Kern County, home of the disgraced House of the Lordship, Kevin McCarthy. His lordship that theoretically runs the House of Representatives, or the House of Fools and Idiots, created by the Freedom Caucus. Where I have to go to is in Lancaster, California, 30th and H. Actually, 30th and K, actually. Antelope Valley College. It's a hell of a distance, I'll tell you that much. It's about 15-minute ride. But I'm showing you the things that I deal with on a constant basis. We don't have that much out here. We don't have that much activity out here. We're trying to get more activity out here, but it's just not handling it. By the time the activity is dying down right now, I think it's about time for the old body to crawl in the sack. So, I may talk to you fellow zombies out there who are emotionally deprived and sleep screwed up. No, I'm sorry, that's emotionally screwed up, sleep deprived. I'll talk at you later, guys. This one is definitely going to Micro and CNN for the fun of it.